The morning sun crept barely over the twisted trees of Odd, West Virginia, turning the fog gold over the broken cabins that dotted the hillside. Betty and Larry stepped outside their new place, a small weather-beaten structure that looked more like a temporary shelter than a home. The boards flexed under their weight. The porch smelled of damp wood and stale cigarette smoke. Larry rubbed his head like he'd forgotten he woke up an hour ago. Betty clutched a small, folded letter, hands shaking like the wind was trying to snatch it away. She glared at the envelope again, eyes wide, voice thin. "Larry, this says court." "Court?" He wiped the sleep from his eyes. "Court? They ain't talking us back down there again, are they? We ain't done nothing wrong." Betty held the letter closer to his face. "It says charges, Larry." "Charges?" Larry snatched it from her and squinted at the words written in thick legalese. He paced back and forth on the dirt patch in front of the porch like the ground itself was shrinking under his feet. "What charges? We didn't steal nothing. We didn't hurt nobody. We ain't those YouTube fellers always lying on folks online. We don't even know how to get online." Betty's voice got softer, panicked. "They say financial exploitation. Neglect. It means prison time, Larry. Prison." Those words hung heavy like storm clouds. Larry froze. The word neglect seemed to echo like someone said it on a megaphone right into his ear. Neglect? How are we neglecting anybody when they took him from us? Timmy and Ray and Lorraine ain't even here no more. Betty grabbed the railing to steady herself. "I took care of them my whole life. I fed and washed them. I held them when they cried. And now they want to say it was neglect?" Neither of them saw the county car pulling up until gravel popped under the wheels. A silver SUV stopped near the trees. Out stepped a woman in a dark blazer, holding a thick stack of documents and a clipboard. She walked with the sort of firm confidence that meant she rehearsed every step long before she arrived. Her badge caught the morning sun. "Are you Betty and Larry Whittaker?" Neither answered at first. Larry swallowed, nodded once. The woman glanced at the property, scribbling something on her clipboard. "I'm Investigator Karen Dorsey with Raleigh County. I need to discuss a few matters related to your case. May I come inside?" Larry shook his head fast. "No, ma'am. We ain't letting nobody inside today. House ain't ready for company." Karen lifted one eyebrow like she'd heard that excuse before. "Then we'll talk outside." "That works too." Betty sat on the porch slowly, clutching her robe tight. "Why do we got charges? What did we do?" The investigator flipped pages. "There are allegations that your household facilitated financial exploitation of protected adults. That means the government believes money was made on behalf of vulnerable individuals, and those funds were not used for their benefit." Larry stepped forward. "Are you talking about them cameras? Those YouTube folks? We ain't never seen no money from them. They owe us." Karen didn't blink. "And there are claims that individuals continued to visit this property after documented reports of unsafe behavior. That qualifies as risk endangerment." Betty blinked hard. "You mean BJ being around? She ain't never hurt nobody since. That was all in the past." Karen looked at them like she'd heard that sentence 10,000 times from 10,000 families. "The state has reason to believe neglect and exploitation occurred over a prolonged period, involving multiple vulnerable persons. If criminal charges are pursued, you could be facing probation, fines, or incarceration." Larry stumbled back a step like the ground kicked him. "Incarceration? Jail. We ain't criminals." Karen closed the folder gently. "As of right now, these are allegations, but we need to resolve them." Betty stared at her hands. "Can we see them again? Timmy? Lorraine? Ray? Please." Karen softened just for a second. "That depends on compliance. Right now, the state needs answers. And accountability." Betty leaned back, breathing shaky like she was drowning in air. "I raised them. I loved them. They were my family." Karen spoke quietly. "That's exactly why we need to make sure they were safe. The investigator walked back to her SUV and drove off, leaving only dust and two stunned faces behind. Larry slammed his hat onto the porch. You hear that? They're trying to throw us in prison for taking care of our own. Meanwhile, those internet people making videos got new houses off it, and a copper tub, and we ain't even got hot water. Betty buried her face in her palms. I just want them home. I didn't ask nobody to film us. I didn't ask for money. I just want our family back. Larry paced again, tense jaw. They better not be thinking we're letting them steal our land, too. Betty lifted her head. You think that's what this is about? The land. Charges make it easier, Larry muttered. They charge us. We can't fight for nothing. No house, no property, no family. Betty's breathing got sharp. What do we do, Larry? He stared at the horizon like he could find the answer carved into the trees. We get a lawyer. A real one. Not someone on YouTube. And we fight back. As the wind rattled the boards of the porch, the letter lay between them like a ticking bomb. Their freedom, their land, their entire life suddenly rested on whether they could prove they weren't criminals for being poor, overwhelmed, and filmed without understanding what they gained, or what they lost. Betty whispered, fear trembling through every word. What if they don't believe us? Larry looked straight ahead. Then we make them believe us. The wind died. The forest listened. Odd. West Virginia held its breath. Speech balloon comment below. Do you think Betty and Larry should face charges? Or are they being targeted because of poverty and fame? Larry's boots scraped the dirt as he stomped across the makeshift yard, shoving an old tire out of the way like it had personally caused all their problems. The wind rattled pieces of sheet metal against the shed, each clang sounding like a reminder of trouble closing in. Betty sat on an overturned bucket, staring at the folded letter again. She kept opening it and folding it back like she expected the words to change if she stared long enough. She muttered under her breath, I ain't never hurt nobody. How they gonna say I neglected my own family? I fed him. I washed him. I kept him warm. Larry paused, looking back at her. They don't care about what we did. They care about what it looked like to outsiders. Betty shook her head. Nobody ever came up here before those cameras. Nobody cared about us then. Larry kicked a rock. They didn't care about us. They cared about them videos. Those cameras made us famous without even giving us a choice. Someone approached from the distance. A slow, cautious walk. A heavy coat. A face wrapped by a scarf. Betty squinted. Who's that? You know him. Larry squinted harder. If it's that YouTube boy again, I swear I ain't talking to him. The figure waved. It's me. Don't worry. I'm here about the attorney. Betty recognized the voice. That's Miss Donna. Donna walked up the hill, carrying a bag of notebooks and a tablet she handled like it was priceless. She pulled down the scarf, revealing flushed cheeks from a cold. You two okay? She asked. You sounded shaken on the phone. Betty stood up slow. We got charges coming. They're saying we're going to face prison time. For taking care of our own. Donna exhaled sharply. That's why I'm here. I told you we need to get ahead of this before it turns into something worse. I spoke with 2 attorneys already. Larry crossed his arms defensively. And how much they cost? We ain't got money for fancy lawyers. We don't even have money for soap half the time. Donna reached in her notebook. One of them is willing to represent you pro bono. That means free. Larry blinked. Free? What? Because the case has gotten attention, Donna answered. They don't like the idea of the state possibly abusing its power over poor residents who've been exploited by outsiders. Betty bit her lip. You mean they might believe us? Donna nodded. If we can prove the exploitation came from the content creators, not from you. Larry scoffed. We've been saying that for months. They made money, not us. Donna sighed. That's exactly why this is complicated. The state believes you allowed outsiders to profit from your disabled family members without protecting them. Betty raised her voice, panicked. How can we protect them if we didn't understand none of what they were doing? We didn't know nothing about money online. Donna stepped close and placed a hand gently on Betty's shoulder. I know, and the lawyer understands that. But the court won't care until we show proof. Larry frowned. What proof? We ain't got nothing but our word. Donna opened her tablet. You have more proof than you think. Look here. Betty and Larry leaned forward as Donna tapped through folders. She pulled up screenshots, receipts, bank statements sent by supporters who tracked where donated money went and where it didn't. Donna pointed at large withdrawals from creators' accounts. That money wasn't spent on you. It wasn't spent on Timmy or Ray or Lorraine. It wasn't spent on your home. It wasn't spent on food. It wasn't spent on medical care. Larry glared at the numbers. I knew it. I told you. They was using us, making money, then telling the world they were helping us. Donna turned the screen toward him more clearly. And these screenshots came from the same people who claimed they were going to save your family, but didn't. Betty closed her eyes, fighting tears. I thought they liked us. I thought they was being kind. Donna softened her tone. They might have cared, but they cared about money more. They turned your life into entertainment. Larry shook his head slowly. Now, they got us looking like criminals because they didn't share a dime. Donna nodded. Exactly. And we can use that. Betty sat back down, trembling. What about Timmy? Are they still saying we can't see him? Donna hesitated. Right now, contact is restricted, but the lawyer can fight for supervised visitation. Betty's voice cracked. I'll take anything. I just want to see him. Even if I can't touch him. Larry rubbed his face with rough hands. It ain't right. They split us apart, and now they want to lock us up for it. Donna exhaled, bracing herself. It gets worse. Larry stared at her. Worse. Donna cleared her throat. The state has reason to believe that there are missing funds from donations meant for your family. They are investigating whether you knowingly allowed it. Betty's jaw dropped. How can they say that? We didn't see no money. You seen our house. If we had money, we wouldn't be living like this. Donna nodded. That's what we have to prove. But if the wrong person slips up, if someone online tries to cover themselves by blaming you, you could be the one stuck with legal consequences. Larry's stomach twisted. So if they lie on us, they get free and we get prison? Donna didn't answer directly. We need to move fast. We need statements. We need a record of every time someone came here, filmed, promised payment, and failed to provide it. We need names. Larry and Betty exchanged a look. We know the names, Larry muttered. We just didn't know we was going to have to fight him. Betty sniffed. I ain't trying to ruin nobody's life. I just want my family back. Donna spoke firmly. This isn't about ruining anyone's life. This is about saving yours. Betty nodded slowly. Larry clenched his fists. What's next? Donna sat on a log, pulling out her phone. I'm calling the lawyer. He needs statements from both of you. Then he'll contact Adult Protective Services to negotiate terms. Betty wiped her face. You think they'll listen? Donna offered a small smile. If we give them something they can't ignore. The air grew heavier as she dialed the number. The phone rang twice. Then the lawyer's voice came through faintly. Donna spoke clearly. Hello. I'm here with Betty and Larry Whittaker. They're ready to give statements. Yes. Right now. We'll record everything. Betty swallowed hard. Larry stared at the letter like it had turned into a loaded gun. The lawyer's voice echoed faintly through the speaker. Donna set the phone on speaker. Go ahead. They can't hear you. The lawyer's voice was calm, deep, steady. Before we begin, I need you both to understand something. From this point forward, every word matters. You must be honest, precise, and unafraid. Do you understand? Betty nodded slowly, even though she knew he couldn't see it. I understand. Larry answered with a hard voice. Let's do this. The lawyer continued. We're not fighting to prove you're perfect parents. We're fighting to prove you aren't criminals. That distinction will decide your future. Betty squeezed her hands together. Larry grit his teeth. Donna hit record. The lawyer spoke again. First question. Did you ever receive direct payment or compensation for the use of your family's image or story during online filming? Betty whispered shakily. No, never. They said they'd help us, but they didn't give us anything that lasted. Larry spoke louder. They gave us food sometimes, clothes sometimes, but they kept the money. All of it. Donna's finger hovered over the pause button. The lawyer spoke again. And did you at any time knowingly allow someone to use your family members for profit without their consent? Larry scoffed. We didn't even know what profit meant. We thought they was just film people doing stories. Betty shook her head fiercely. We didn't let nobody use them for money. We didn't even know money was being made. Donna looked relieved. The lawyer continued. Last question for now. Did you ever deny medical care, food, shelter, or safety to your family members? Betty slammed her hand over her chest. No, I raised them like they were my own babies. I never let nothing happen to them. Larry shouted back. We ain't perfect, but we ain't cruel. Donna ended the recording. The lawyer's voice softened. That's a strong start. I will contact the county. We're going to fight this. Larry exhaled hard. Thank you. The call ended. The forest felt less heavy. The wind returned. Birds chirped again from the trees like nature itself waited until it knew they were safe. Donna stood. You both did the right thing. Now we wait. Betty looked up at her weakly. You think we'll get our family back one day? Donna smiled gently. If we stand together? Yes. Larry nodded. We're going to fight. Donna picked up her bag and started walking back down the road. Larry watched her disappear past the trees. They think they can scare us into giving up. They got another thing coming. Betty looked at the letter one more time, then crumpled it in her fist. We ain't criminals. We're family. The wind blew across the property, lifting the dirt and the broken leaves. The weight on their shoulders wasn't gone, but now they had something they hadn't had before. A voice, a defense, a chance. The next steps would be harder, uglier, and public, but they were no longer alone. Speech balloon comment below. Do you think the state is trying to protect the family or punish them for being poor and exploited? News spread faster than gossip in a small holler. Before noon the next day, half the town had whispered something about charges, lawyers, and the Whittakers might be going to jail. Men at the dollar store leaned in over scratch-offs, women gossiped between aisles of canned beans, and old-timers at the gas station shook their heads like they'd always known something like this would happen. By the time Betty stepped into the Family Dollar to buy coffee and bread, people were staring, some out of pity, some out of curiosity, and a few out of judgment. A clerk whispered, not quietly enough, "That's her. That's the one they took the kids from." Betty's eyes dropped. She clutched her basket tighter. A voice cut through the murmurs. "You don't know a damn thing about that family." Everyone turned. It was the cashier, a younger woman with dyed red hair, a familiar face from the neighborhood. She came around the counter. People got to stop talking about them like they ain't human. The whispering died down. People looked away, pretending they hadn't said a word. Betty whispered, shaky, "Thank you." The woman nodded. "You deserve kindness, even if other folks forget that." Betty nodded numbly and hurried out with her bag. As soon as she stepped outside, she saw Larry pacing near the truck, jaw tight. "You hear it too?" she asked. He punched the air, frustrated. "They act like we hurt them kids. We raised them better than the county ever did." Betty nodded. "They don't know how much love went into that house." Larry held the truck door open for her. They don't want to know. They want to blame somebody easy. As they drove down the gravel road toward the property, a group of kids on bikes stopped to stare at them, whispering and pointing. One of them yelled something about crazy mountain people. Larry rolled down the window halfway. "Say that again," he shouted. The kid sped off. Betty grabbed Larry's arm. They're just kids. They don't know nothing. Larry bit back his anger. That's the problem. Nobody knows nothing, but everybody thinks they do. They pulled into the dirt clearing where their old trailer sat, like a rusted memory. The wind whistled through broken windows, rattling loose metal, like the house itself was warning them of what might be coming. A white sedan was parked out front. Not a neighbor, not a content creator, a government vehicle. Betty froze. Oh God, is that APS again? Larry swallowed hard. They wouldn't come twice in 2 days, would they? A woman stepped out of the car, clipboard in hand, hair neatly pulled back. She approached without hesitation. You must be Mr. Whittaker and Ms. Whittaker. Larry straightened defensively. Who's a skin? She presented a badge. Child Protective and Adult Services Liaison. I'm here to conduct a follow-up inspection. Betty's voice cracked. They're gone. You already took them. What else you want? The woman's tone stayed calm, practiced. This isn't about removal. This is about ongoing investigation into potential neglect and financial exploitation. Larry frowned. We ain't got money to exploit. How we gonna exploit anything if we ain't got nothing? She scanned the property with her eyes, her pen scribbling notes. This inspection helps determine whether further charges are filed. Betty grabbed her arm desperately. Ma'am, please. We ain't criminals. We just didn't know them cameras would put us in danger. The woman looked Betty in the eyes. And you didn't think to question why so many strangers wanted to film your family? Larry grew agitated. You ever been poor? You ever had somebody offer help? People show up with cameras and groceries. What we supposed to say? No. Get off our land. Then they call the cops on us for being suspicious. The woman paused, surprised at the logic. Larry continued, heat in his voice. We don't have phones like y'all. We don't have internet. We don't know about contracts or copyright or money online. We thought somebody was finally looking out for us. Betty wiped tears with the back of her hand. They ate at our table. They sat on our porch. They said they was family. The woman looked around again. The roof sagged dangerously. A window was covered with a garbage bag. The front steps were cinder blocks stacked unevenly. The scent of mildew drifted from the wood. She spoke more gently this time. Have you made any progress toward improving your housing situation? Have any of the people filming you provided monetary assistance that could have helped fix the property? Betty shook her head. They gave food sometimes. A jacket maybe, but they never fixed nothing. Never gave money that would have changed our life. Larry pointed toward the road. They said they was helping, not making money off us. We believe them. That a crime now? The worker took a breath. It's only a crime if the court decides you knowingly allowed exploitation. Betty and Larry stared, confused. What does that mean? Betty asked. It means, the woman explained slowly, if you allowed others to profit from vulnerable family members without protecting them, the law can argue you failed in your duty of care. Betty gasped. How are we supposed to protect them from something we didn't understand? The woman closed her notebook. That is what your lawyer must prove. Larry stepped forward. And we got a lawyer now. So you can tell the county we ain't rolling over. The woman nodded, surprised. You have representation? Already. Betty wiped her nose. Somebody's helped pin us. Someone who thinks we deserve better. The worker paused. Good. You'll need that. Hours passed. Donna returned later that evening with a box of supplies and a folder of printed documents. She spread papers across the old table. These are requests for discovery, she explained. We're demanding all financial documentation from anyone who made money using your family's image. Larry scratched his head. You mean we're going to get proof they got rich off us? Donna nodded. When the court sees how much they earned versus how much you received, it'll change everything. Betty whispered, but what if they lie? Donna pulled out signed receipts, archived online earnings, screenshots from donation trackers, and even emails sent by creators bragging about revenue. They can't hide. The internet never really deletes anything. Larry smirked. Finally, something works in our favor. Donna continued, flipping another page. You're also going to testify that you didn't understand online monetization, that you believed you were being helped, not exploited. Betty nodded. That's the truth. Donna placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. And the truth is enough. Larry pointed at the envelope that came earlier. What about prison? You think we're going to be locked up? Donna shook her head firmly. If this case goes public, which it will, the county won't risk prosecuting poor, exploited residents while letting outsiders walk away with profit. That's a nightmare for them. Betty let out a shaky breath. So they might back off? Donna nodded. They'll pivot. They'll go after the creators, especially the ones who made the most money. Larry's mouth hardened. You mean the ones hiding? The ones pretending they helped? Donna whispered. Yes. Betty rubbed her arms as a cold wind came through the cracked window. I don't want to hurt nobody. I just want my babies back. Donna sat beside her. This fight isn't about hurting anyone. It's about proving you are not criminals. Larry leaned forward. What happens if they keep trying to blame us? Donna looked straight at him. Then we take the story public. We let the world know who really made money off the disabled, without giving them safety, dignity, or a proper home. Betty's eyes widened. You think people will believe us? Donna smiled softly. They already do. They just needed someone to stand up and say it. As the night settled over the hollow, the old trailer seemed less like a prison and more like a battlefield where they were finally preparing to fight back. Not with fists, not with rage, with truth. For the first time in years, Betty walked into the kitchen and cleaned the counters. Larry gathered trash from the porch, stacking tires, sweeping debris. Not because someone told them to, but because the act felt symbolic. They weren't cleaning for inspections. They were cleaning because they expected a future. The wind whistled again. This time, it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a promise. Betty whispered to herself as she scrubbed the old counter. We ain't criminals. We're family, and they're going to see that. Larry stepped inside, setting down the broom. We're going to fight him with the truth. That scares him more than anything. The old house creaked as if it agreed. Speech balloon comment below. Should the content creators be forced to pay restitution to the Whittakers? Who owes them the most? 2 weeks passed. The holler stayed quiet, but the quiet wasn't peaceful. It was tense, like the land itself was holding its breath, waiting to see who would be punished, the poor or the ones who profited off the poor. Lawyers had started whispering. YouTubers stopped posting updates. A few creators suddenly deleted old videos, wiped entire playlists, and posted vague apologies about misunderstandings, claiming they never intended harm. Others doubled down, making dramatic videos blaming each other, hoping someone else would take the fall. But none of them came back to Odd, West Virginia. The only people who still showed up were reporters. A gray SUV rolled up as Betty swept her new porch, a temporary cabin donated by anonymous supporters. A woman in a dark coat stepped out, microphone in hand, camera crew behind her. Mrs. Whittaker, Mr. Whittaker, do you have a moment? Larry stood protectively in the doorway. Depends on who you're here for. Us or your views. The woman blinked, caught off guard. We're here to get your side. People want clarity. Betty stepped forward slowly. You sure you ain't here to make us look stupid? The reporter shook her head. No, we're here because something has gone very wrong in how this family was represented, and the public needs to see it clearly. Larry crossed his arms. So ask what you came to ask. We ain't hiding. The reporter gestured to the camera crew. They began filming. Is it true you're facing potential neglect and exploitation charges? Betty closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. They want to charge us for not protecting our own, but we didn't even know they needed protecting from people who said they was helping. Larry added, They came to our yard with cameras. They said it was kindness. They brought snacks, groceries, hugs. They said they was family. How are we supposed to know they were getting paid thousands? The reporter nodded. Did any of the creators explain that filming your family earned income? Betty laughed sadly. Explain? Most of us don't even know how to use a phone. They could have told us there were taquine pictures for the newspaper. We'd have believed it. We trusted them, thought they were making memories. Turns out they was making money. The camera zoomed in. And did you receive compensation? Larry shook his head. We didn't receive a dime worth what they made. Some brought food or socks. One brought a jacket. They thought that made it fair. Betty added quietly, they gave crumbs, kept the cake. The reporter leaned in. Do you believe you're being unfairly targeted by the county? Larry didn't hesitate. Absolutely. The county didn't care about us when a roof leaked. They didn't care when our kids needed medication. They only cared once the internet cared. They swooped in to look like heroes. The reporter nodded slowly. So you believe this sudden action isn't about protection, but reputation? Betty wiped her eyes. They had 16 years to help us before the cameras came. They waited until it made them look bad to do anything. One of the camera crew members, who had been silent the entire time, looked visibly shaken. It was like hearing the truth for the first time, unfiltered, without background music, without exploitation. The reporter lowered her mic. Mrs. Whittaker, Mr. Whittaker, I hope your lawyer gets you justice. Betty sighed, exhausted. I just want my people back. Timmy, Lorraine, and Ray. They're our heart. I ain't trying to fight the world. I just want them home. The reporter nodded with genuine empathy. We're going to air this. Not for clicks. For accountability. Larry eyed her skeptically. We'll see. The segment aired 3 days later nationwide. And everything changed. Viewers overwhelmed court offices with emails demanding the Whittakers be treated fairly. Thousands of comments called out content creators, asking why they made money while a disabled family lived in a rotting shack. Within 24 hours, online outrage forced county officials to release an official statement saying the investigation is ongoing and all parties are being reviewed. People noticed the wording. They weren't blaming the Whittakers anymore. They were shifting the spotlight. Creators panicked. One posted a long apology video, crying. Another tried to argue that exposure is payment. Another claimed the family didn't want money, even though the family was never told money existed. A few tried defending themselves by blaming other creators. Some claimed they were the only good ones. Millions of people online weren't buying it. The question trending everywhere. If they cared so much, why didn't they build a bathroom? By the end of the week, lawyers representing multiple states reached out to Donna, offering support. They saw the case as a precedent that could reshape content law. Can someone profit off a disabled adult who cannot fully consent? If the court ruled against the creators, it would change everything, not just for the Whittakers, but for every vulnerable person ever put on camera for content. From homeless interviews to vulnerable family TikToks, the entire industry would be forced to rethink exploitation. Donna presented the idea to Betty and Larry. You're not just defending yourself anymore. You might be protecting thousands of other families. Betty's eyes widened. Us? We're nobody. We clean houses and fry beans. How are we going to change something that big? Donna smiled. Because the world finally sees how you were treated. And they're angry. Larry sat heavily in a chair. We never wanted trouble. We never asked for any of this. Donna nodded sympathetically. I know, but sometimes justice finds the people who never asked for it. Betty sighed deeply. I saw my baby's home. And that, Donna said, is exactly why we fight. Days turned into another quiet week. Then the call came. The case against Betty and Larry put on hold indefinitely. The focus had shifted entirely. Multiple subpoenas were issued, not for the Whittakers, but for the creators. They were ordered to provide all earnings from videos featuring the Whittakers, all donation records, all communication with third parties about monetization, any contracts or lack thereof. Those who used the family for profit were now facing criminal liability. Some influencers went dark, deleting channels. Others lawyered up. A few began contacting Betty and Larry privately, offering to settle quietly. Donna warned them, "Do not answer anyone. Every conversation goes through me now." Larry smirked. "Feels good to say that." Betty looked out the window, eyes glistening with hope. "Does this mean they'll give back what they took?" Donna nodded. "They're not just giving it back. They're going to pay damages. And you'll use it to build a safe home where your family can live together again." Betty covered her mouth, trembling. "A real home." Donna smiled. "One with heat, plumbing, bedrooms, and dignity." Larry closed his eyes. "That's all we ever wanted." A knock echoed through the cabin. The sound startled all of them. Betty looked at Donna. "You expecting someone?" Donna stood quietly. "No, but let's find out." Larry opened the door. Standing there was a caseworker, not with a clipboard, not with accusations. She looked softer, less guarded. She gently held out a letter. "This is an update. Please read it when you're ready. And I want you to know something." Betty braced herself. The caseworker swallowed, voice faltering with emotion. "You didn't fail anyone. The system did. And I'm sorry." Betty stood frozen as the woman returned to her car and drove away. Larry slowly opened the letter, hands shaking. Betty reached for his arm. The letter read, "Timmy, Lorraine, and Ray are healthy, safe, and progressing. A supervised visitation schedule is being prepared." Betty gasped. Tears streamed down her face. "We get to see them?" Larry whispered through his own tears. "They're coming home. Maybe not today. Maybe not next month. But soon." Donna nodded. "And when they do, it'll be to a better life than they ever had." Betty hugged the letter to her chest like it was her child. Larry placed his hand over hers. "We ain't criminals. We're family." Donna wiped her eyes too. "And soon, everyone will finally understand that." Speech balloon comment below. Do you think content laws should change so vulnerable people cannot be exploited on camera without protection? Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.